Good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully, everyone can see and hear me as well as my screen. Thank you and welcome along to Dukefield Energy's webinar in conjunction with Drax. We're here today to talk about the energy markets with a brief market update, and then I'll hand over to Naomi from Drax, who will be talking about electric vehicle charging points. And some advice on that. Few bits of housekeeping, if possible. If we can keep mics off to minimise background noise and cameras as well. And then just save any questions for the end, please. If anyone's got any problems hearing or seeing what's on screen, please do raise your hand and I'll see that. And then I can amend as necessary. So today's agenda, briefly, a little bit about Dukefield Energy and who we are, a little bit about our services, a quick update on the energy markets and where things are at currently. I'll then hand over to Naomi to talk about electric vehicle charging points, and then, as I say, any questions at the end. So who are we? We're Dukefield Energy. We've been working with the public sector for over 25 years. We're a full service energy provider, wide range of services ranging from general electric and gas procurement to water procurement, and then quite a lot of energy management solutions as well. We provide end-to-end management of all energy requirements, including utilities, as I say, and energy efficiency solutions. We've got extensive experience across the team, and we understand the energy issues faced by education providers in the wider public sector. We work in collaboration with our customers to help them find the right solution that is, most importantly, a compliant route to market. So compliant procurement, we have a compliant route to market via the University of Essex's National Education Framework. This is made up of 4 lots: electricity, gas, water and energy management solutions. We discuss your objectives with you and help you develop a bespoke strategy for the procurement exercise. There's fully fixed and flexible contracts available, and all requirements are considered, such as green energy, AMRs, payment terms, and any other specific requirements to you as a customer. So at the bottom of the screen there, we've got a little walkthrough, I suppose, detailing the process. We normally start with an initial introduction, be it Teams or face-to-face, with an update about the markets. The next stage is fact-finding, so we'll find out a little bit of information about your meters, the usage and things like that, and then any other requirements that you as a customer might have. The tender is then undertaken by the team at Dukefield Energy. We generally advise around 5 to 7 days to obtain quotes from our suppliers. Quotes are then provided to you as a like-for-like analysis against current costs, and there's no obligation to sign with us at any point. So services offered, again, I'll keep this quite general and quite brief. Electric and gas procurement, we have, as I mentioned, a compliant route to market via the University of Essex's National Education Framework. We have 5 electricity suppliers and 4 gas suppliers to choose from. There's a multitude of contract types available, be it fixed or flexible. There's additional services that we offer, such as bill validation, a variety of reports, supplier query support, and AMR upgrades where relevant. We also offer water procurement. We have 1 supplier on our framework lot, which is Water Plus. On signing with Water Plus, you would then be assigned an account manager by them. And there are savings to be seen for quite a lot of customers we've found. Since the market was deregulated a number of years ago, quite a lot of customers, particularly in the public sector, with their existing water supplier and are currently on deemed rates. There's some good savings to be seen by signing into a contract with a water supplier. Water Plus also offer water audits as well as AMR or data loggers. Amongst our services or solutions as well, as part of lot 4 of our framework, there are energy management consultancy services, things like net zero consultation, decarbonisation strategies, Other things compliant related, such as DECs, EPCs, SECRs, and energy audits. Simple things like behaviour change programs can be, we can assist with writing those, and assisting with SAILIX funding bids and other funding routes. There's also options for alternative power, such as heat pumps, be it ground, air, or water source heat pumps. Other alternative power options, such as solar PV. And then lastly, as well, as we'll touch on today, electric vehicle charging. A quick update on the energy markets. When I first put this together around about this time last week, the markets were looking quite good just over here. The heading downwards, which is always what we want to see. But since then, quite a lot's changed. One of the key factors at the moment, or one of the key fears really, is now that Donald Trump's been re-elected as president, that's created a little bit more uncertainties. He looks to reverse some of Joe Biden's policies, and there's also the fears of his relationship with Iran and how that will affect oil prices. If we go back to the beginning of 2024, just on the left-hand side over here, we did see some decreases to wholesale costs, which was a good positive. But then over the summer, if we just move towards the right-hand side over here, there was quite a lot of volatility caused by military conflicts in Israel and Iran, as well as ongoing escalating conflict in Russia and Ukraine, and then unplanned outages in Norwegian gas fields. We did see a positive as we left the summer months, as the UK and European winter storage targets were achieved in late August, which is well ahead of schedule. But since then as well, ongoing military action in the regions that I've mentioned earlier have added to the uncertainty, and they're still having a large impact on wholesale costs. To add to that, over the last week or so, Hurricane Rafael in the Gulf of Mexico has halted oil and gas production in that particular region, and that particular region does produce quite a lot of oil and gas. Lastly, revised colder temperature forecasts for the weeks ahead, which are now showing below seasonal normal levels for the remainder of the year. And again, this is a supply and demand market, and with us entering the winter months, it's supply and demand that can often have a negative impact on the energy markets. And I'd like to hand over now to Naomi from Drax, who will talk about electric vehicles.
Thank you so much, Jonny. Good afternoon, everyone. It's really good to be here with you today. So I wanted to start really just by introducing Drax, who we are and what we do. So Jonny, if I could just ask you to pop the slide across for me. Fantastic, thank you. So Drax is a global energy company. We are world leaders in sustainable biomass and supply of renewable power. In the UK, we are part of the National Critical Infrastructure and the largest supplier of dispatchable renewable energy. So we're currently supplying around 12% of renewable power to the UK, and that's through a number of assets that we operate across. So we have the power station in Selby. That was previously coal-fired power station, but I think over the last, back in the early 90s, I think we realised that the coal was, the writing was on the wall for coal. So we have since converted that over to biomass. Largest decarbonisation project in Europe, doing that conversion over to biomass. And now within that, we also do carbon capture storage through our power station at Selby. We also have hydropower up at Crooken as well. So lot of expertise and knowledge in that energy space. And with our retail side of the business, through our commercial side of the business, we operate a number of different products and services to really support our customers on that whole decarbonisation piece. One of which is around electrification and electric vehicle, in particular, supporting infrastructure, which is what I'm here to talk to you about today. So if we could, sorry, Jonny, just move across again.
Sorry, there we go.
No worries. So why are we looking at electric vehicles?
Sorry, Naomi.
That's all right. I'm going to keep talking through technical issues. So why are we looking at electric vehicles? Transport is the largest greenhouse gas emitting sector in the UK, accounting currently for around 28% of the total. And road transport, in particular, for that, is a pretty large number, accounting for 87%. So, over the last few years, the government have really been pushing us away from internal combustion engine vehicles over to electric to try and reduce the amount of emissions on the road. And there are a number of different incentives that we have here. For those shorter journeys, we're looking at more active travel, so encouraged to walk, cycle, get those vehicles off the road completely. For those longer journeys and for those vehicles that need to be on the road, reducing them over to electric really minimises the amount of carbon emissions. And they've been doing this through a bit of carrot and stick, if you like. So in terms of the carrot, there's various funding out there that's been both for vehicles and the supporting charging infrastructure. In terms of the stick side, I think we're now looking at legislation to kind of push us forward. And one of the big pieces of legislation that has since come through is one called the ZEV mandate, or Zero Emission Vehicle Mandate. Now, essentially what this means is that by 2035, currently, 100% of new cars, new vans on the road will be fully electric. The ZEV mandate actually starts from this year, from 2024, where we're looking at 22% of new cars and vans to be fully electric. And the idea is that it goes up in percentage through the years. Originally, the date for that was to be 2030. But the end of last year, Rishi Sunak had a bit of a back take on that, pushed it forward to 2035. With the new Labour government coming in, they're also thinking about taking it back to 2030. So we're still waiting to hear. But either way, in the year 2030, which I think is pretty key, we'll be looking at 80% of new cars and 70% of new vans sold will be fully electric as a minimum. If more on the road and we get it back up to that 100%, then so be it. In terms of, perfect, thank you. In terms of some data, when we're looking at what that data looks like for vehicles on the road at the moment, this is just giving you an idea of vehicle sale data from 2022, 2023. And you can see the difference in how each month it's grown quite exponentially. The Q4 of that, you can see there was a dip there in the registration of EVs, but I think a lot of that might have been to do with that change around the mandate and what that potentially looked like. In the December of 2023, the percentage of new market growth here is 9.8% compared to December 2022. And in the electric vehicle space, this is really being driven by workplace fleet vehicles, where 1 in 6 of all new cars are fully electric. For the private buyers, this drops down to around 1 in 11. So industry is calling on things like VAT cuts for private buyers, looking to stimulate demand of those vehicle sales, and also further implementation of those public charging facilities to really support that transition. In terms of the van sales data for December 2023, the new van market there grew by 36.1% compared with the previous year, 2022. And whilst there's traditionally, I think, been less choice in that van market for electric vehicles, we're now seeing more OEMs producing the vehicles needed to enable that transition. So making sure that they've got the right payloads, the right distance in terms of battery, etc. Similarly, I think for HGV vehicles, they're currently making up 5% of all vehicles on the UK roads, but they're responsible for 17% of all road transport emissions. So over the next few years, we're really going to see a large focus on shifting this market sector over to alternative fuels to really reduce that impact. You could pop us across to 2024, Jonny. So just to get you completely up to date here, the top table there shows the registrations of vehicles in September. And here that we can see there has been a jump from 16.6% in September 2023 to 20.5% this year. And equally, that market share for diesel and petrol vehicles has fallen. Overall, across the board in September, we've seen an increase in market share across full battery electric, plug-in hybrid and hybrid electric vehicles, with the ICE vehicles losing their share of that market respectively. And in order to continue that growth, we need to continue the infrastructure support and work with businesses, organisations across the UK to really think about enabling a robust and successful EV strategy. So when we're looking at that strategy and charge points, where are we now? And I'm focusing here really on those businesses and those organizations within that space. So we've been doing some market research, and that research has shown that 48% of businesses currently dip their toe in the water, shall we say. So they may have a small proportion or installation of some EV charging points on their sites. 91% of businesses have acknowledged the importance and indicated that they are likely to develop a plan over the next 5 years. And I think for businesses and organizations, I think there are a lot of barriers, a lot of challenges that start here. I think first and foremost, who does it sit with within the business? Does it sit with procurement? Does it sit with energy? Is the fleet manager looking at the infrastructure side of things as well? Where do they start? What do they need? Who's going to pay for it? Along with thinking of the timelines of these projects, potential disruption to the businesses themselves. And then the big factor here, I think, as well, is around that behavior change piece. Moving and transitioning from ICE vehicles over to electric is a huge jump in behavior. So how do we bring those drivers on board, and how do we move that across? And that's an awful lot of things that businesses and organizations have to think about. So how do we kind of get there? How do we go about that? And I'm hoping to give you some pointers as we go through the slides for you today. In terms of what businesses are looking for, some of those market drivers, whilst price, I think, is always a factor, and it always is when we're looking at these things, equally, I think what we've discovered that collaboration, support, customer care, reliability and quality, these are things that are absolutely key in this space in order to make that transition successful. Working with companies that can really understand the business needs and are able to collaborate effectively, put in the right solutions. It's all about having the right infrastructure in the right place, doing the right job. And when the kit is in the ground, making sure that you've got that ongoing support, that the kit is being looked after. This is quite expensive kit. It's technology, software that's outside in all weathers and not being always used very kindly. So making sure it's reliable, got the quality side of that there, and it is supported and is going to be working for you, particularly for those cost critical vehicles, I think is absolutely key. So where can we kind of help and support on this? So looking at it, I think from a higher level, I think starting with an EV strategy and thinking about the EV strategy for your organization is absolutely key. Strategy, though, I think when we think about strategy, that also needs to be very fluid. We need to enable for adjustments for business requirements, changes in the market, changes in technology, and technology does move incredibly quickly. Having an expert partner in these charging facilities will hold your hand through that process. We know that electrification is coming. We have evidence in the growth of market share. We have legislation that's actively kind of pushing us down this path. So thinking about having a plan in place sooner rather than later will also give you some time and space for that efficient rollout of that infrastructure. And to effectively embrace electrification, we need to understand what are the effects on the business and the organization. Where are the opportunities we have there to transition? So there may be some low-hanging fruit. There may be some things that you can do quite quickly, or there may be other areas that maybe have a little bit more complex and maybe need to think about across a phased transition rather than trying to do everything in one go. When we're looking about that, you need to understand what the benefits are to the business and also think about the financial implications and how that's going to affect things. Understanding your data, your business models, having the right timelines in place will make that transition easier. Having experts that can support you agnostically, so advising on those right solutions, will also minimize those disruptions on your operations and also effectively enhance your output. Robust service and maintenance plans in place, maximum uptime, particularly, as I say, for those cost critical vehicles, and thinking about as well those sites and how those sites are used. Available electrical capacity can be a huge challenge, so utilising smart charging technologies, load balancing and other new technologies can really think about using the energy effectively. Bringing your drivers on board throughout the process, so we can do things such as providing training days, support packages, make sure we install hardware that's user-friendly and intuitive. All of that will ease that process through. In terms then of Drax itself and what we offer. So I mentioned there we have a range of products and services on the commercial side of the business. One of the areas we support on is through the electrification piece, and we have quite a large expert of EV team to be able to help support that. Uniquely in this space, we start with product and innovation. And our product and innovation team is really looking at technology, what new technology is coming through, what's the technology we've got now, regulations, legislation, how is that going to fit into the plan, payment systems, smart charging, all sorts of different things that we have to build in to really make the infrastructure work for you. And having that detail up front and being able to build that into the design, not only at the beginning, but also as we go through. So having hardware that's flexible and future-proof will really kind of keep things moving for you over that longer term. In terms of the team itself, it's also important that you have those account managers for that day-to-day contact, being able to answer those key questions, support you through the journey. In terms of our asset solution team, they lead really on the health and safety side. So working very closely with the project teams, the deployment teams, minimizing disruption, putting those project plans together to make sure that you've got timelines and timeframes, making sure that any power outages happen outside of potentially working hours so they're not disrupting the business. All sorts of things that we build into that to make that work. And everything that Drax do is also in-house. So we have our own in-house team of engineers. We build those into our service delivery team. So once the kit is in the ground, we've got really strict SLAs, KPIs to adhere to, and we're managing everything for you as a single entity. In terms of the solution itself, so we've talked there about this fully managed installation in terms of hardware. There's a number of different pieces of kit out there. To date, as a group, we've installed over 14,000 electric vehicle charge points, and that's anything from a domestic charge point where a commercial vehicle's been taken home at night, all the way through to the big 350 kilowatt DC rapid chargers. So dealing with everything in-house gives us that real full element of control and enables you to have full visibility as well on what's happening with your project, with your strategy, and how we support you on that. In terms of the hardware itself, we work with a number of different providers. That means that we can really think about building a bespoke solution for you rather than have a solution in place that you have to then try and build around. And that solution may end up being slightly different, even site by site. So bringing it all together so you've got that cohesiveness across your infrastructure, that it's working well for the business, that it's giving you everything you need to keep your operations moving and as effective as they can be is really kind of where we sit. We also offer a number of different elements to help support you manage and control the infrastructure directly as well. So one of those is around our market leading portal. Sorry, Jonny, if you could just pop on to the next one for me. Thank you. Our market leading portal is about giving you access to your charging infrastructure. So when we think about the hardware is connected to software. If you think about your mobile phone is your piece of hardware, but it has to be connected to either EE or O2 in order for that to work effectively for you. And EV charging is exactly the same. So with EV charging, it's connected to a back office. As a charge point operator, we manage that system so we can view the details of your charge points. We can see if there's an issue normally before you can, and we can often look to repair that remotely for you as well. With this set of portal, it's a web-based application. This allows you to bring different sets of data into that portal and allows you to also see that data and do reporting as required. So really, we're looking at 3 different data sources here. We're looking at the charge point data, the vehicle telematics, if you've got telematics in your vehicles and you want to bring that through as well. And also, if you're on supply through Drax Renewable Energy, then you can also see your site electrical consumption data. And really, really simple, really effective, easy to use, no user license fees, anything like that. And going back to what I was saying about different stakeholders in the business, you may have different requirements from those energy managers, sustainability side of the business. Your facility managers may want to see slightly different viewpoints. And having all of that data in a single location, but be able to pull different reports is really key. For the EV driver, should you wish to choose to have a tariff on your charge points, there is a mobile app for the EV driver. And the EV driver will then be able to download this directly through either the App Store, Google Play. Looking at the interface, this is giving you an overview of what they would see on their mobile phone. It shows the sites, the number of charge points, availability there. It will also give the EV driver any details on access restrictions or tariff payments, and really be able for them to plan their routes and understand where they need to be and what they need to do when they get there. In order to activate the charge point, it's very, very simple. There's either a QR code on the charge point or a code that they can put in once they're at the charge point itself. They can then make the payment through their app using any major credit or debit card, and that will automatically start the charge for them. All of that historical data is then in the app for them to view, including receipts should they need to expense anything as needed. In the background, all of that funding is collected by us and sent back to the host of the charge points or the owner of the charge points on either a monthly, quarterly basis, along with full reporting of the number of kilowatt usage, the number of sessions, the payment that's involved in that, etc. So really nice, intuitive system for the EV driver. This one I'm not going to talk through in too much detail. This just gives you an idea of the kind of companies we work for and a few of the nice things that they've said about us. There are a number of different solutions, options that we can work with. So whether that's through financing, leasing, whether that is through smart charging, load balancing technology that we're looking at, whether it's through AC or DC charging, there's a number of different things that we can help support. And for us, it's really about a partnership approach, holding your hand through the journey, understanding your requirements and needs, and just making sure that we're really fulfilling that from day one and supporting you all the way through. Again, Jonny, I think that last one's just a bit of an overview. So for me, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me, and I look forward to answering any questions you might have.
Yeah, thanks so much for that, Naomi. Hopefully everyone found that really useful and informative. I'll open the floor now for anybody if you've got any questions to ask.
Either we were really, really super clear or...
It's always the fear, isn't it? It can be too informative sometimes. Hello, Matt. If can I unmute, actually? Allow Mike. There you go. Matt, if you'd like to ask the question via the chat or via talking, feel free to do so.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Can hear you fine,
Yeah.
Matt. Thank you.
Brill, thank you. Well, thanks for the presentation. Naomi, you went over that a little fast for me, but I think I got the gist of it. So the question was just, do you offer any support with implementation plans then? You know, in an electrical vehicle implementation plan. Do you do any of that work?
In terms of your EV strategy, Matt, is that what you mean?
Yes, that's right. Yep.
Yeah, so we can help support you on all of that in terms of the turnkey solution that we have. So for us, it really starts with understanding the business itself. So what are you trying to achieve? What can you look at in terms of your vehicles? So what vehicles have you got? How do they move around? What are their payloads? What are their distances? Which ones might be the easiest ones to transition over to EV? We're looking also at where they dwell. So what are those dwell times? Where do they stop? Because when you're thinking about charging, you want to be doing it while you're doing other things. You don't want to take your electric car somewhere to charge. So those dwell times are really important. And those dwell times when they're stopping, that will also give us an idea of what kind of infrastructure needs to go in the ground. Is it AC? Is it DC? Look at the sites of those dwell times. Where do they happen? Can that site take that electrification piece? And then we can build all of that into a design. So that's really kind of where we start the process, building that design process out. And it comes in kind of layers. So it's understanding the data, understanding the business model, building out the design and the requirements through site surveys. That's looking at electrical capacity. It also takes into account how the site's used. So, for example, if there's reverse parking, does that reverse parking policy need to be adapted? Are you going to end up losing car parking spaces because of the infrastructure due to the size of it, or having to widen the bays? All these kind of things come into play. And then thinking about then how does that then layer out in terms of timelines, project planning, and the finances involved to kind of make that happen, and the different solutions there that we can look at. So there's a number of different things that we kind of help support with from day one. And then it's really kind of looking at that partnership of that strategy as to how is that then going to roll forward over the next X amount of months, years, whatever is required, depending on the fleet sizes, the site locations, your timelines, and just really trying to bring it all together as a complete package.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks, Naomi.
Any more questions from anybody before we wrap up? Well, thanks everyone again for your time this afternoon. Again, any more questions that people have, telephone number and email addresses on screen. Yeah, thanks for your time. Look forward to speaking to people again and hosting further webinars in the future. We're finalising our marketing plan and strategy for 2025. So there will be more webinars from next year. And as well as that, lastly, we are attending the Schools and Academies show next Wednesday, the 20th. So please do pop along and see us. Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Yes, Luke, the slides will be sent out afterwards as well.